You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome all and welcome into the Insight NFL Podcast. Monday, 24th of November. We're rounding out week 12. We've got our usual review and recovery show, which we love to launch this as soon as a lot of the games are finished. We've still got one more to go to close out week 12 with Panthers at 49ers, which a couple of bad defenses there. We could be off to the races to close out the week. Fingers crossed. Throwing to you, Secko. You've got your Rams hat on. Very proud of the win. Baker, he just couldn't get anything going even before he got injured. But yeah, you're going to be pretty happy with that.
That defensive unit's just going from strength to strength at the moment. So we all know how Stafford's playing and you know, Devontae and Puka, but defense is keeping them playing well, winning games. So no, as a Rams fan, mate, it was a perfect little afternoon.
Gotta love to see it. Another happy camper as well, Mav. Your Cowboys pulling up a nice upset victory against the Eagles. Great to see. Great game for fantasy. A lot of the guys firing. CeeDee Lamb with a couple of drops. Not normally like him. Should have had a big day. George Pickens is just keeps doing what he's doing. How are you feeling about that one?
How about them Cowboys, eh? No, they're going okay. They're going okay. They probably they're one of those teams that you don't really want to play. You know, if your season's on the line or something like, you need to win. You know, they're a tough team to play. The offense does enough, right? But when the defense is sort of on track, you can see where there's a world where they're going to be okay. They're not going to be a Super Bowl contender, might I add, but they might make a Super Bowl contender scared, or they might have to play better than what they actually have to play. Like, you know, you'd rather verse like who can I say, like, I don't know, a fringe playoff team. Anyone else, you'd rather play except for the Cowboys. I'd rather play the Niners right now, to be honest, than the Cowboys. I seriously would, but they're going okay, the Cowboys. A few more wins, they might be in the playoffs, but it ain't to be pretty bang on perfect, I'd say.
Absolutely. Jerry Jones with those last-minute deals at the deadline. Quinnen Williams looks pretty good. Stopped Barkley today, 10 for 22. That's dismal there. But before we jump into tonight's show, we've got a few injuries to cover. And as we are about to close out week 12, a lot of your trade deadlines will be finishing up too this week. So if you did miss our final must-make moves that we dropped last week, make sure to check that out. Videos in the link below. I know myself, I'll be staying up to all hours of the night trying to close out deals before the end of the game tomorrow. To get into that, but gents, before we jump into our heroes and heartbreakers, we got some injuries and some news to cover. From the top, a couple of happy Raiders fans out there with Chip Kelly no longer in the building. He's gone. Hopefully, Brock Bowers can begin to be better utilized in this system. And I'll also loop in with this. Ashton Genty is dealing with an ankle injury. There is concern for a high ankle, so he could be out for the next couple of weeks. If so, Secko, how are you feeling about this news with the OC in Las Vegas out the door?
Well, that's great news. No one's upset about Chip Kelly. He did a pretty good job to get a lifeline. It takes a 76-year-old coach to give him a job. I can't imagine the head coach is far behind, to be honest. It's been an absolute shambles in that entire setup. But no, it's good to have an OC that was just play calling. Their play calling was just so head scratching so often, and you know, it's easy to blame Geno Smith for a lot, but just not giving him the easy option with Bowers time and time again. It's now 3 weeks in a row, I think, since that monster when he came back. Maybe it's 2, but yeah, it's good to have him gone. That generally opens it up to simplifies the offense a bit, which a simplified offense with Ashton Genty especially out is pretty clear and obvious, I think, to everybody, and he's good enough to beat that. So, yeah, for all the Brock Bowers owners out there, SuperCoach and normal fantasy, they'll be very happy with this news.
And Mav, throwing this to you on this, Ashton Genty is ruled out. Can you name the RB2 on the running back depth chart for the Raiders currently? I was trying to think off the top of my head. I'm thinking I've got absolutely no idea who's behind Genty.
The guy that is it Raheem Mostert?
It's not pretty.
Yeah, Raheem Mostert. He's old.
Is it then Sincere McCormick?
No, he's pushed down. I think he suffered a pretty nasty injury at the back end of the season last year. Off memory, they've got Dylan Lalby, Zamir White is also there,
Yeah.
but he's
White.
holding on by a thread. So
He was the
Raheem
old
Most,
dynasty second round, early second round stash a couple of years ago. People were thinking this guy's going to go to the moon.
yeah, he didn't do you any favors, but he might have to come through. How are you feeling if Raheem Mostert has to hit the park for these guys next week?
Nah, look, it's gross. I mean, look, Genti's been pretty good for what he's had. I mean, the offensive line's doing him no favors as well, might I add. But just in general, he's getting the ball and getting tackled as soon as he touches the ball. He can't even, can't even try and make a move on a defender. So Raheem Mostert obviously being a bit of a, I'd say past his prime. He's well past his prime. It's going to be hard behind this offensive line the way that Genti's been struggling. So, yeah, gross, very gross.
Super gross there, and another gross one. Alvin Kamara dealing with a sprained MCL. It is believed with that knee injury for the New Orleans Saints. He'll probably miss at least 3 weeks, maybe even the season. They might just rope him out. So Devin Neal on our waiver wire show tomorrow will be getting a big feature. T. Higgins, another big name here, wide receiver for the Bengals, dealing with a concussion and with the short turnaround for next week. I believe they've got the Thursday night game. He is in real danger of missing. Not good signs, but Joe Burrow is lining up to start in week 13. Secko, we were semi-optimistic he might play this week, even though he was talking about coming back for that Thanksgiving showdown against the Ravens. Bengals need him badly. Don't know if it'll be a difference maker at this point of the year, but how do you kind of see him playing out and in hopes for their season?
We'd mentioned it. It's funny. We mentioned at sort of both sides of our mouth a bit. He mentioned Thanksgiving clearly, but we do pay attention here on the Insight podcast about practice movements and statuses in practice. And he's practicing in full. And at that stage of the week, Flacco wasn't on Thursday. So it's all the indications of what he'd play, but obviously he's just sort of he was smart about it. He'll definitely play next week, and no T Higgins means Jamar Chase gets the Ravens D in what I think is going to be a pretty decent shootout. So if you've got Chase, you'd be upset about the 1 week miss, but you'd be happy to load up.
It's going to be a big game at that with Joey B under center. Couple of quarterbacks. We had Aaron Rodgers for the Steelers. He missed in week 12 with that hand injury. It was looking like he might play. Jalen Warren did get the start, but Rodgers had to miss. Baker Mayfield, we mentioned in the Rams game, dealing with a shoulder injury, didn't play the second half. Not looking too good there and optimistic for next week. Mav, how do you feel about a Bakerless Buccaneers in week 13, if that's the case?
Yeah, I mean, they're just decimated, aren't they, across all fronts at the moment. The offense is just copping it. Yeah, I mean, it hurts Ibuka something shocking, doesn't it? I mean, he wasn't really much in this game at all and was less likely a threat when Baker went out of the game, wasn't he? So, yeah, it's definitely a problem. Very much in the realms of not interested in any Tampa Bay player at all. Does that really? They're still in obviously the contention to win the division, so the playoffs are still a hope and nearly a dream at this point. But I mean, can you see a world where the Panthers make it in this day and age? It's crazy, but it could happen.
Man, it's a big game tomorrow for the Panthers after seeing Baker going out. If they can somehow pull up a win against the 49ers in San Fran. A couple of other little news pieces here, or not little. Will Campbell, offensive tackle for the Pats. He was their 4th overall pick this year, dealing with a knee injury. Reports saying that it could be an ACL, so he could be done for the year, which massive hit to the Pats and that O-line there. And Secko, last but not least, Puka Nacua was dealing with a knee injury during that Bucks game. He did return, so again, it's kind of all up in the air. But how do you feel about him? Do you feel like he's still pretty clear to start for those guys next week?
I think so. He returned to a game that was a blowout. So if there was any indication that he wasn't any good, there was no chance. It's funny, they're sort of getting a little bit into Detroit, Detroit areas. The Rams learn they want to beat up some of these division or conference opponents and prove that they're they're the boss and get some tiebreaker points. So Matt Stafford was still slinging it, on the second last drive, and he was handing off at the end of the game, but he never came out. Yeah, they're just firing. He'll be fine. no issues at all, and it's one of those things. And it's funny, the perception is that he's been passed by Devontae Adams in that offense, and it's because Devontae's getting all the touchdowns, right, which is fantastic for fantasy. But Puka had 11 targets, 7 for 97, and it's a bad game. It's a pretty good indication of where where he's at, where everyone thinks he's at. Not playing 100% of snaps either. So yeah, look, cool play. He's a primo in every facet, in every sense of the word. So looking forward to having him back next week as a Rams fan.
That'll just continue the Matt Stafford MVP run. He just keeps doing it, absolutely blowing out these guys and passing touchdowns for fun. That's really all of our injuries. We'll probably have a couple more updates. I'd probably say on our Thursday show, we'll just get some final reports on a couple of key guys that may or may not play week 13. Throwing over to our heroes, we've got just an absolute stallion at the helm in our quarterback position this week. Jameis Winston was the top point scorer with 64 points. Only 24 people own him. So if you brought him in, well done. You've enjoyed a couple of games of Jameis, and he provided the goods with you this week. But moving on to some guys that are actually heavily owned, Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott are coming in at 2 and 3. And Mav, I'll throw it to you. Jalen Hurts, 61 points in this one, and Dak Prescott at 55. We love to see it for this game. I was worried that it might be a little bit of a defensive front on the Eagles, really sticking it to the Cowboys, but they produced the goods. Can Jalen Hurts potentially be in line with that top 3 of Lamar, Mahomes, and Josh Allen rest of season, or is he still kind of outside that tier?
It's hard because Lamar's been dog shit in the last couple of weeks, and I don't know, Mahomes is matchup based, I suppose. He was still pretty good, but matchup based. I mean, you can almost put Jalen Hurts in that same category too. It was a good matchup for him, and he dominated. So good on him. But God, I wasn't really expecting these two to be 1 and 2. To be honest, I generally thought the Eagles' defense has been a lot better, and they'd be able to contain Dak. But maybe Dak's just on one of those heaters at the moment. He's looking pretty good. It has been for a while, might I add. Dak gets a lot of criticism, But to be honest with you, he's realistically, you can run any offense and make him look at least half decent. I mean, I know he's a playoff loser and everything. I can understand the whole narrative behind it, but he still moves the ball, mate, and he's still a good quarterback, I reckon. So, you put Dak in that same category is the real question. I mean, I know Hurts is there. He's probably on that fringe of, but is Dak not far behind? That's probably the real question.
How do you feel on that, Secko? Hurts and Dak into that top 3 rest of season for the quarterbacks this year?
Yeah, well, I mean, Mav's spot on. Lamar's been dog shit. Mahomes hasn't been much better last couple of weeks. So what we thought was pretty clear, and even Josh Allen had 20 points. So there's no right or wrong answer. I still think those 3. Lamar's run, if he doesn't do it, what he should do next week in Cincinnati, we can obviously have a talk about it. But back on Dak, he's had, outside of a matchup against Denver and an average game against Arizona, he's had 28 or more fantasy points. So I'm not sure what that translates to SuperCoach. Probably in a 50-odd area in 6 of the last 8. Again, take away Denver and that one bad game against Arizona, he's been lights out. So if you've got him and you're riding with him, he's a good pod. He's the kind of guy who can put up 50-point matchups every week mostly because George Pickens is a legit 1B. Let's call him 1A almost at this stage because he's so good. Dak's good enough with 2 receivers. He's never had 2 receivers. We're not going back a long way. So he drew in the benefits, and he's probably played the best football he's played for, I don't know how long. You know more, Mav, than me, but he's playing fantastic at the moment, and he's an asset in all fantasy formats. If you've got him, hang on to him because he's chucking it. He's having to because they're pretty bad on defense still.
There was a year where he actually was in the MVP contention. I think he came second that year. I think it was 2 years ago from memory. So it's probably it's right up there. Every second year, Dak has a good year. So expect next year to be pretty average, and then the year after, back in MVP contention. It seems like it's that wave. It's the Josh Jacobs wave, really. Every second year is a good year.
Let's hope he can continue the run. I know I've got a whole heap of Dak and CD stacks in a lot of traditional fantasy leagues this year. A couple of other names in that top of our quarterback category this week. Cam Ward, 47 points. Monster score by the rookie up against a tough Seattle defense. Matt Stafford, we mentioned, 45 points. Caleb Williams, 43 points. He's kind of getting it done. Was a bit of a plus matchup for him against the Steelers. That was a gritty game. A couple of honorable mentions that we didn't have in this top list. Trevor Lawrence, 39 points. Brissett, 37. Mahomes and Goff had 36. And that's probably where we'll start. Mahomes, 36 points. Secko, I mean, that was my captain for this week. I put the VC on Josh Allen. We know how poorly he performed with a 20. 36 just doesn't cut it, especially against the Colts. Very high over-under. How do you feel about Mahomes moving forward? I think he's got a couple of tough matchups down the stretch, but I think he faces the Cowboys in that list too.
I'd probably put that as it seems like a very generous score. I watched a fair bit of that game, and Mahomes wasn't very good at all. And Rice wasn't great at times, and Worthy's, I'll be nice, Worthy's sometimes not as great as he is perceived to be. So yeah, no touchdowns for Mahomes. I'm not really sure how we got to 38 in the end. We'd have 38. 36. You sort of, I mean, without being too over the top, you probably take that from a bad game. But you're right, going into it, it looked like it was going to be a pretty wheels up kind of game. They did throw a lot, which is 46 passes. He doesn't usually have that many. And so, yeah, it's again, if you've got him, you keep him. If you haven't got him, I'm not sure whether you bring him in. It's one of those sort of tough situations, but it's one that I know Drake May owners are going to have to deal with probably as soon as this week. That's where you sit.
It's a tough one. I'll be probably moving him out for Lamar this week with the Cincy matchup coming up. I just can't. Mahomes no longer in my team. It's been long enough. Moving on to the running backs and heroes and Mav. I think you have this guy on your team. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Like I know you will. Jahmyr Gibbs, one off the triple digits, 99 points. His stat line was just absolute Madden level. 15 for 219 yards on the ground and 2 scores. He had a long rush of 69 yards.
Hey.
Love to see that. And he also added 11 catches for 45 yards and another touchdown on 12 targets in this one. So 99 points. That is the biggest score so far of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Bigger than JT, which we'll get to him later on, which I'm ready to throw an egg on my face for that. But Mav,
Me too.
Jahmyr Gibbs, how are you feeling about him this week and also moving forward?
Yeah. What do you say? I mean, one of the greatest performances you'll see. Really, it's right up there. He was unbelievable. Somehow the game was close against the Giants, which was actually the most surprising part of the whole thing, really. But all in all, it was fantastic because it kept Gibbs going and got him more touches and more work. But I do have Gibbs. I'm shattered about him as captain, but it was probably never really in consideration when you look at it like that. But 99 points. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. It's just feels good when this happens to a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, who's like I don't know, he's not really a pod as such, but lesser people have him compared to JT. So it feels like it's one for the good guys, this one.
Yep, one for the good guys for sure. Emmanuel Wilson, he had 50 points, second point scored. Don't have to worry about him. Josh Jacobs should be back next week. Derrick Henry and Ashton Genty, and also James Cook. I'll loop those guys in. Henry on 42, Genty on 41, and James Cook on 40 to round things out. Henry had a couple of scores. Genty had some receiving work, and James Cook had that big receiving touchdown. Anything from this list stick out to you, Secko? Is anything surprising? And I guess moving on to next week, Genty is probably going to miss the next 3 weeks, so his status is up in the air. But Henry and Cook for future outlooks, how are you feeling on those two guys?
Look, we sort of mentioned a couple of weeks ago. Henry was due to get some positive. He was a good cheaper option. I think we highlighted him last Wednesday as a cheaper option to go down to if you're a bit tighter for cash and you need to get someone out. So yeah, he's benefiting from Lamar being back, but Lamar not being able to run at the moment, which I'm not sure how long that will last. But I don't think it'll matter next week for him personally. But yeah, it's a matter of it won't happen every week. That's the one problem that we have. with Baltimore. If they're in a competitive game, I think it's going to be less leaning on Derrick Henry. But today was literally just got the two short touchdowns, which probably one would have gone to Lamar in some other capacity. He just benefited from that. And outside that, he was okay, but he's good to have when those positive game scripts come about. And looking ahead, their run out is pretty favourable. We've mentioned it a few times. It's pretty easy. They should be up in a lot of games. So yeah, if that's the case, he should probably be pretty good for the rest of the year. Cook has been good. Again, he was you mentioned it. It was a one play, and he's really only had in the last 7 weeks. He's had a 67 and a 37, now 40. But outside, he had 9, 17, a 15, and 25. So it's sort of hard to bank on him. He's a guy who can go big, but a guy who can sort of let you down, like most can. But yeah, I just don't think he's in the same echelon as probably the top 6 or 7 we've highlighted a few times, personally.
Yeah, and for Derrick Henry, Cincinnati, he faces them twice in the next 3 weeks. James Cook, you definitely take the 40 up against Houston, one of the top defenses in the year. Couple of honorable mentions that we've got in the running back heroes. Travis Etienne, 38 points, just keeps scoring touchdowns. And Quinshon Judkins also had a couple of scores for 33 points in a poor outing from Shedeur Sanders, except that one big play to Isaiah Bond that's that everybody's talking about. Let's not get carried away. He was pretty stinky besides that. Wide receivers, heroes, Mav, throwing to you. I mean, we've got JSN here with 65 and up against the Titans as well. You didn't expect him to play for a lot of this game. It was, I know for me, I was kind of thinking he might play a half and then he'll just kind of run around at the end because they won't need him by that point. But they kept it competitive, which is great for him. He has the most receiving yards ever at this point in the year by a wide receiver. Currently on track to break that 2,000-yard mark. How much of a stud is he? Just moving forward, is he the clear number one wide receiver? He's at 21.6 million. Price has gone up from last week.
Yeah, well, he was the guy that I was sort of throwing the option about on the captain this week. Obviously, Josh Allen had the stinker on the Friday. So I had to pivot. I had to make a decision. It was either going to be him or CMC as captain. I've gone with CMC, unfortunately. So I'm sitting there going, shit, 65 points out of me captain would have been fantastic. I'm not sure if CMC will be able to back it up, but JSN has just been fantastic, hasn't he? He got a lot of his work done early in the game, and I think he's had the first 2 scores of the game from memory, and sort of dominated and didn't look back really. Great matchup there against the Titans as well. They've been pretty poor in the secondary, and yeah, he made a good reason why they are too. He made them look really stupid really quickly too. So yeah, fantastic year. It seems like he scores in the top 5 nearly every week, doesn't it? He's just so consistent and super smooth. I feel as though he is the best wide receiver in the group that we've got, and it's crazy that Drake London's actually worth more than JSN right now. It's crazy to say that.
Yeah, that'll change in a couple of weeks' time. I'll run through these next few. One sticks out like a sore thumb that shouldn't be in this list. Wan'Dale Robinson, 52 points. Pickens and Amon-Ra with 50. AJ Brown, 42 points. And DJ Moore and Devontae Adams with 41 points, closing at the top 5. Wan'Dale Robinson is definitely the sore thumb. If you didn't pick there, that's just that Jameis Winston experience. Amon-Ra tried and true, 50 points. You'll love to see that. Pickens, he can just do that with that upside, and if he scores a touchdown. AJ Brown, Secko, I know you were kind of off AJ Brown, so we'll throw it to you on this one here. 42 points. I mean, they both kind of performed. This was the matchup for it, which we love to see, but him and Devonta Smith did perform both, but AJ Brown was the one just getting the touchdowns. Could have been a bigger day too. There was one touchdown that he just didn't quite get his foot down before touching the pylon. But is this news of greater things to come for AJ Brown, or do you think it's more of a blip in the radar for this week?
It could be. They played the Cowboys. Let's just make sure that's noted very, very, very early in the piece. So yeah, it's. I'm not going ready to bring AJ Brown into my team just quietly. I thought you meant when you said sore thumb. I thought that was who you're talking about. To be honest, a bit surprised you went with Wan'Dale. Wan'Dale was fantastic. He looked like a true number one out there today, and the broken junk touchdown to start the game. I've actually faced him in 3 different matchups this week, believe it or not. 3 people had Wandale Robinson against me in fantasy. It's unbelievable that he had his best game of his career. But no, he did what the best receivers do when they're having a dry patch. They complain to the media, make it very known that they are unhappy with their situation and targets and game time. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Without knowing who they're playing next, probably should have got that up while I was sticking the boots into him a little bit. But I imagine there's going to be some tougher competition coming up. Chicago Chargers, Washington Buffalo. It's actually not too hard. He could be definitely viable if you've got him in traditional, especially. You'd be happy with that. He seems, but it is still a 2-man show as well, which is great. If you are a Devonta guy, he gets plenty of looks as well. But you're right, the touchdown could have easily been 2. He's a bit stiff on that second one, and yeah, good to see him back after where he's got to at 12.7 mil. He actually lost money on that 42 points this week, or he's going to lose money. So if you wanted to go again, scrape the bottom of the barrel, there's worse options at 12 mil, I think, than him. I won't personally be, but I feel like you can.
Mav, potentially you might be a buyer of AJ Brown. I remember the start of the year, he was one of your first rage trades. But now that you've got the app back on deck, now that you're scoring in the 600s for this week, how do you feel about AJ Brown and really anybody else from this top 5 that you want to kind of highlight before we move on?
Just when Secko was sticking the boot into the Cowboys, don't forget he had a score of 2 in week 1. Thank you very much. So matchup aside, he couldn't get it done against the Cowboys, mate. So yep, we'll move on from there. No, look, probably the most surprising was DJ Moore. Obviously speaking, he's up and down for the most part. Still rate him as a receiver, but we probably thought a couple of years ago when DJ Moore was lined up at Chicago, potentially with Caleb Williams, was meant to be generational, and he's been okay. DJ Moore hasn't really sort of lived up to the hype of this Chicago Bears team, which I expected to be getting. Yeah, very up and down. I mean, week 11, he had 4. Week 9, he had 41, and then back to 18, 12, 13, 11s. You know what I mean? Just average scores that you just do not expect out of a guy like this talented, really. But maybe he's a bit washed himself. So, all in all, mate, I was probably we got Rashee Rice down there at 40 points as well. He finished as the wide receiver 8 on the week in SuperCoach, and to be honest with you, mate, at one point during the game, it was like, shit, he's going to score 15 points, and he manifested a 40 out of it. It was really, really good in the second half, especially in the last quarter into OT. So, yeah, he sort of fought his way through, and Rashee Rice has been fantastic, hasn't he? So let's just check out their remaining schedule. I got the Cowboys next week, so Rashee Rice is big matchup for him. We'll tear them apart. And Houston, Chargers, Tennessee, Denver, Vegas. So not too bad. But Rashee Rice seems like he's almost matchup proof as well. So he'll seem to score well pretty much nearly every week.
I was really hoping that he wasn't going to do anything in that second half, trying to, move from Justin Jefferson to Rashee Rice. The cheaper I could have got that bridged better. It's about a 7 mil gap probably after this week. Michael Wilson also had 33 points in this one without Marvin Harrison Jr. He just keeps performing. I think he had another 10 catches on 15 targets or something like that. Absolutely obscene. Tight ends. Hunter Henry is the top of this list with Kittle to come tomorrow. 42 points. He's going to go on up. Cincinnati Bengals have been the number 1 defense, worst defense against the tight ends, giving up the most touchdowns so far this year. That streak continued with Hunter Henry. Colston Loveland, 25 points. Love that against a nice plus matchup against the Steelers. And then Trey McBride and Colby Parkinson rounded out this list with 24 points. Secko, Trey McBride with 24. He's still going to make money this week, believe it or not. So he'll be up just under 19.5 million there, which is just absolutely obscene for a tight end. This is probably the floor game for him, we're thinking, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, he's that good. Just since Brissett came on, it's just one of those things where he looked like he was going absolutely nowhere with Kyler, and it was true, he wasn't going anywhere. Kyler wasn't looking for him anywhere. He wasn't good enough to get the ball to him, and Jacoby's come in, hyper elite passer, which helps tight ends. Tight ends like McBride who can get in good spots and hold the ball every time it comes their way. So, Marvin Harrison back in won't change that. I don't think it will change Michael Wilson's much either. To be honest, I think he's now the wide receiver one. Just a bit of a bold call there, but he's proven more than enough. He's done more than Harrison's ever done in just 2 games with Brissett. But look, McBride, if you can find a way to get the $19 million, I think it's still on the cards. Having said that, Chip Kelly news from the top may just make me personally hold on to Brock Bowers for another week, but his break even's going to be bloody over the 50s mark, and I just don't want to leave it any longer. So I might just use a little luxury trade now and just cash in on getting McBride in because he's just that good at the position. Clear number one.
It's just that good. And tight end, as gross as it is, there's some big players there that can put up massive scores each week. Moving on, though, to kickers. And, Mav, I will throw it to you after quickly running through these top 3. Borogalis, 36 points for the Pats. You'll love to see that. 8% owned. Harrison Butker, 32 points. Zane Gonzalez for Atlanta Falcons put up 30. Cam Little, 26 points there as a nice little honorable mention sneaking in. You still got rid of him, right? Or did you ended up bringing him back after those couple of big weeks?
No, he's gone. He's gone. Mate, I can't get any luck in the kicking or the defensive game in this. It's haunting me. Every trade or anything I do in that sort of facet seems like it just wants me to just lose and burn. So no, I haven't got him, unfortunately, but he keeps on. He's just consistent in an offense that loves to, they can move the ball, but there's obviously some field goal opportunities there for him. And yeah, Baragas has probably been the one, hasn't he? I mean, he was basement price at the start of the year, and he looks like he's at least a half decent kicker at some point. So it's just a spin the wheel with these kickers, though, for the most part. Again, you want to be investing in teams that can move the ball. That's where your opportunity lies. But you say that, and Joey Sly, for example, has been good for about 8 weeks. So and they sort of stink. But he kicks field goals. So what do you say?
You can't say much, and you can't say much about the defenses as well. Talk about spinning the wheel. Packers and the Rams, 36 points. No surprise there. But Cardinals, 34 points this week, and they were in the negatives last week. You just can't pick it whatsoever. Cleveland Browns with 32 points. You're pretty happy if you rolled them out there up against Gino. That was just a freebie one for the taking. But that will really round out the heroes for this week. We'll just jump straight into the Heartbreakers, because there was plenty and a couple of massive names here to kick things off for the quarterbacks. Josh Allen, 20 points, and Lamar Jackson, 14. So, Secko, I know we were touching on this beforehand. Lamar, couple of down weeks. It doesn't look like he's back to himself with running whatsoever. He's going to be at an all-time low price of $20.3 million. I think at this point, even if you are just kind of burning a trade, going from, and I'm probably just being a bit biased speaking for myself, Mahomes to him, I think is just, you're really playing the matchup at that point, but I'm also making a bit of cash too in the back end, which is just ridiculous. How do you feel about him moving forward? I know Josh Allen, very tough defense. Houston Texans are lights out, but Lamar Jackson, 14. It's getting pretty scary out there for him.
It is scary, and a lot of people are off him, and I understand he won't be bought in at the levels that I thought he would be with a price drop, just purely on optics. But again, it's one of those weird games. I watched a bit of it. The only problem is he doesn't run like he used to, so he's taking away that ability to have sort of 50, 60 yards on the ground that he would have as a guarantee, which is 12 points in SuperCoach. That's the only sort of real downside. He wasn't a big touchdown guy. I think there's a misconception that he was a sort of 8 to 10 rushing touchdown guy. He never was that. So you're not losing the points on that as much. You're just losing the yardage points. The one thing I do see about Lamar, and so I'll go back to Josh Allen. He doesn't lose any money because he had such a big score last week that he's 20. He doesn't lose any money this week, so you don't get a discount on him if you haven't got him. But Lamar, going to drop over 3 mil to 20 mil. And just that I mean, again, I understand if you haven't got the stones to go down to go to him out the way he's playing, but Cincinnati with Joe Burrow back next week, everything screams shootout. It's Thanksgiving. It's the last game of Thanksgiving. There's 3 games on the Thursday. Just one of those things. It just screams to me he's gonna have to throw it. It won't be a Derrick Henry game. They won't allow it, and the defense is so bad that they can just shred. And they need to make sure they win as well to keep their own slim playoff hopes alive at home against the Bengals. So I just think if you can get him for 20 mil, Drake May, for example, you're making money off Drake May to Lamar, and then you can use that to go up to one of the winners in the receiving call, running backs if you still want to, or even tight ends if you want to do that. So the money is also key. You don't want to be burning trades, but I think getting Lamar in now is just a great price, and he can go massive. He could not again, but he could go massive in the next 4 weeks.
He would have lost just about 9 million on the year so far, which is absolutely obscene on that type of a player. Jordan Love, 14 points, a name out that we've got in this list, but he's not super high owned. A guy that is very high owned, and I think Mav, you've still got him on your team and probably still out on the clothesline, probably for the last few weeks. But JJ McCarthy, 4 points. Yeah, I wish I had more than 4 trades because then I could get rid of him. But at this point, there's just no reason to. He's just going to have to sit on my bench forever. Hopefully no other quarterbacks get injured, because if you're caught in a pinch having to start him, he will let you down. Is there any optimism for JJ McCarthy moving forward? Looking at the next couple of weeks, they've got Green Bay and Lambeau, and then they've got the Seahawks in Seattle. So how are you feeling about old Socky with this one?
Well, mate, I actually feel really good about him, to be honest with you, mate. Really, really good, because the positive now is if you want to move him on, for Shedeur Sanders is going to be in his bubble next week. If he's playing or not, it's irrelevant. Doesn't matter. But this is the time to cash in on JJ McCarthy if you're going to trade him on and make some money. Outside of that, I couldn't care less about him. He sucks. Yeah, he's made his money. That's only $8 million. It's $8 million. It is what it is. You could have had Dart. I get it. Maybe you did. But the reality is he's not playable. And it's, if you want money, trade him on. But God, he's bad to watch, isn't he? He's just awful, awful, awful. Doesn't see the game properly. Obviously, he's making his teammates visibly frustrated to go along with it too. So it's pretty awful viewing for the most part, and especially late in that last quarter in that game, it was just awful. It was just awful. I don't understand at a competitive level how you can't hit up JJ 8 times, especially when you're throwing it 25, 30 times. I don't understand. So. They made a massive mistake, mate, to be honest with you. They should have gone and signed or traded for Jameis Winston. I know he's a problem with sometimes when he's very, very careless, but he can move the ball and he can win your games. Will keep you in it at least anyway. So they made it. He would have cost them nothing, because honestly, mate, JJ McCarthy, even for let's say the future, it's on borrowed time. He's really on borrowed time. I don't think he's the future of this franchise, and he's probably got. It doesn't help that he sat for a year, but what a great player sat for a year as well, and came in and dominated. Maybe not first year, but second year, and at least you could see the progress throughout the games. I haven't seen anything with JJ McCarthy where I'm going, yep, I see progress. So, all in all, mate, it's just awful. Yep, just awful.
Yeah, you read my mind with that.
I just want to.
No, you go.
Sorry, Mal. I just want to read a stat I read today. 852 qualified quarterbacks since 2000. He's 851st in EPA per dropback. The only worst quarterback in 25 years is Jamarcus Russell. That's how bad he is. It's not just us thinking he's terrible. He is the second worst quarterback of the last 25 years. So, and think about all the quarterbacks, like every bad quarterback. He's that bad. So, we're not wrong. He had a little brief little glimmer of hope where he tried out for a week, and he is just. I'd trade him if I had more than 4 trades too.
And I think that's a bit of homework for after this show. Googling who the hell Jamarcus Russell is. I've never heard of that name before. But
Who he played for?
There you go. I'm showing my age. He played for the Raiders. He was the number 1 pick.
Oh, wow.
He was the number 1 pick who the story is they sent him a playbook to read, and they put $100 in the last page, and they asked him about the book and how he liked it and how he found it. Mentioned nothing about the money, and they realised that he didn't read the book at all, and that's pretty much how it went.
Oh, gee. Well, yeah, I don't know.
That's
In
smart.
terms of JJ McCarthy, I mean, I don't even think you give him all the money in the world. I don't think it'll make a difference because there has not been any improvement whatsoever. Running backs. Here is the time. So currently, I'm the only Jonathan Taylor owner out of us three. I'm projected for 470. And I think with a lot of JT owners out there who don't have GIBBS like myself are hurting. So Secko and Mav, well done. The JT, kind of hold off or hold out has come to a point where you are pretty happy with it. He will lose some cash this week too.
Oh yeah.
Just over 1.5 million. So Mav, as a non-JT owner, how are you feeling about this one? I know you did throw a message in one of our chats earlier that I can't quite repeat on air, but it hurts to be a JT owner this week.
Yeah, look, I do have him in a couple of spots or a few spots in traditional fantasy. Just want to reference our Insight Creators Content League that we've got. I actually had Josh Allen and Jonathan Taylor, and I'm still going to win anyway.
Kissed.
It's that's crazy. But no, look, it's so hard to be so consistent at running back in this competition. It could be you having an off day, the offensive line having an off day, the defense just stacking in the box. There's so many elements to it to being a good running back over 18 weeks of fantasy football season. You're gonna have some off weeks along the way. Matchups, the pass rush or pass, is better than most teams. Like there's so many factors that go into a game. But also at the same time, I'm happy to get him down a few $1 million, and we can trade him in a couple of weeks. Maybe the trade swap for CMC when he's on bye week would be nice. Instead of paying $4, $5, $6 million in the bank, which would save for other trades potentially, like a JJ Jefferson trade, Justin Jefferson trade. Save some cash there to upgrade him. But yeah, all in all, man, I was stoked to see it. All those guys, and I'll loop in Barkley as well. I mean, Barkley's been horrible, hasn't he? Just absolutely horrible. But I'll loop him in this conversation too.
Yeah, they both stunk for this weekend. Second, the same thing on JT. I mean, I also know that you don't have him, so you're victory lapping right now, but didn't have high hopes heading into this game with this matchup against Kansas City. They've been pretty stout against the run. And the next few matchups on top, it does not get any better for JT. Houston, the Jags, Seattle, 49ers, probably the only kind of layup one there. The Jags again, and then Houston to close out the year. At this point, and even if his price does come down, are you looking to buy in on JT, or with that run home, is he just a full fade for the remainder of the year?
A full fade. I called it a long time ago, and it partly was with some bitter tears. But you beat me to it. But that run, Houston, Jags, Seattle, next three, like he could be $22 million out of that. That's how I expect him to score, or even cheaper. It's a really tough run. Thankfully, in the couple of legs I've got him, I'm looking like getting a week one bye, so I can just get through to the San Fran game and get through that tough run of 3 matches, because it's not fun at all. We said Kansas City would be hard, and it was. I mean, he can always break one. These things can happen. But I'm just not expecting much out of Houston, the Jags, or Seattle over the next 3 weeks. I wouldn't be buying him now. If you don't have him, obviously you've got him, you hold him. But just maybe look elsewhere for your VCs and Cs, and not rely back on what he was doing against the likes of Tennessee, Chargers, Arizona, Raiders, Tennessee again, and obviously Atlanta last week. So he's still going to be a superstar, but not the monster scores he's had all year.
No, it hurts. It hurts for JT. It also hurts for Bijan. Not as badly though. 24 points. 27 on this week. Again, doesn't kill you like JT did, but it does not help you whatsoever. Kirk Cousins leading the helm probably won't get better for the rest of the year. Also, Kyron Williams, 10 points. Devonta Adams is getting on the touchdowns in the end zone on this one. They didn't really need Kyron whatsoever in this blowout. Javonte Williams, 21 points. Hopefully you moved on from him a couple of weeks ago when he was around that $15 million mark. But a question to ask both of you, gents. I'll start with you, Mav. Trevion Henderson, he's at 19 points. He did earn money this week after that low negative 47 break even from last week. In a plus matchup against the Bengals, he will go up to 15.7 million. Are you looking to cash in at this rate? Because it looked like that backfield was well and truly split still with Stevenson back healthy.
Look, for me personally, probably not. I think he's going to be sitting there for security, just in case. I mean, you could always upgrade your bench to a premium like a Derrick Henry if you really wanted to, but what's the point in doing that? If we're talking about security, I mean, if you've got like 8 or 9 trades and your team's preset, maybe you could do that, obviously. But if you're not, then probably not. But yeah, no, I'm not looking to move him on at all. I've only got 5 trades left, so there's not really any reason for myself to really do it. I'm not really gaining anything by moving him on apart from money, but it's just simply there for security, just in case one of my top running backs go down, or more down the track rather than now. If it happens now, that's fine. I can fix it. But if it happens in week 15 or week 16, I'm sort of rolling the dice and no trades, and yeah, maybe yeah. But no, outside of that, mate, he's staying on my team for the rest of the year.
Secko, I take it same thing for you with trades at this point of the year. They're just such a rare commodity. A lot of teams under that handful of left with what do we have? 7 weeks to go, 6 weeks to go to close out the year. So yeah, Henderson, it's disappointing to see Mike Rabel back to his old tricks.
Yeah, I mean, the snaps were very clearly in Henderson's favour. So even though the stat line doesn't necessarily represent that, he did get the vast majority of the snaps. So he's still the leader, and I expect that to continue for the rest of the year. The reason why you hold him, and I'm very staunch on holding him, do not trade him out unless you have a heap and you need that extra money on him to get to someone, someone bigger. Is the fact that he's got Bengals, Giants, Bills, Ravens, Jets, Dolphins. You can't get a better running back schedule than that. Like you actually can't. Like they're all bottom 8 to running back. So if you need, he should not be on your field at this stage. If he is, maybe you can look to change that. But he's probably in your RB5 or 6 slot, and he's there. Worst case scenario, you run out of trades. It's week 15, and you've got after his bye, you've got Buffalo. He should dominate, and you've got Ravens can dominate, and then the Jets should dominate. So just keep him. You can't do any. You're not going to make too much money off him at this point. Be happy that he's actually got a role and is the clear number 1.
Save some trades. Wide receivers. We'll run through all of these heartbreakers here. Zay Flowers, 18 points. Not too hot. Nico Collins came down to earth from last week with 14 points. CeeDee Lamb, 19 points. Pretty disappointing. That's probably the one that sticks out the most. Romadunzo, 13 points. And then Justin Jefferson, which we spoke upon. Him and JJ McCarthy is just not working whatsoever. Justin Jefferson, as good as a receiver as he is, he's just he's smacked at the knees with JJ McCarthy under center. But CeeDee Lamb probably sticks out like a sore thumb for me. Only 19 points in this one. Did have a touchdown, I believe, too, in this game, which is pretty surprising to only have that many points. I'll just double check that. He dropped the touchdown. Oh, there you go. I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
So yeah, it very I've probably thrown it to you as the Cowboys fan here. CeeDee Lamb just hasn't quite looked like himself. There has been a couple of games too where he has had a couple of poor drops. It hasn't just been this week, but 11 targets, only 4 catches, 75 yards is okay, but really needs to be going up more if those touchdowns aren't coming through.
Yeah, we compare him to Pickens, who's bringing in these absolute pearls of a catch compared to CeeDee Lamb dropping sitters. So he must be a Philly Eagles fan deep inside, CeeDee Lamb, because he did this week 1 against them as well. So I expect him to be training early tomorrow morning on the ball machine again, practicing pretty hard. But nah, look, I'm not too worried, to be honest, man. Not 19 points, yeah, sure. It's not the CeeDee Lamb that we know of, but last week he had 30. The week before that, he's had 24. we probably want bigger scores out of CD Lamb, to be fair. We're probably more looking at, obviously 30 plus is obviously what we're looking at when it comes to CD Lamb, obviously being a premium player. But, it is what it is. When you got George Pickens in the house, it's going to happen too. He's going to take away some opportunity from CD. And same with CD the other way too. You're going to have some Pickens where he has a few lower weeks because it's CD's week. So it is what it is. But, Kansas, Detroit, Minnesota, Chargers, Washington is the remaining schedule. So yeah, the only real tough matchup he's got in that one is probably Kansas next week. But again, I'm not too worried about Kansas secondary. I think Dak's played against good defenses all year and seemed to make it work. So again, if you chuck the Chiefs out there, it is what it is, and he'll play well. It is the second time CD Lamb's playing against Kansas in his career, though. So he's only played one game against them, and his high score and low score is both 5 points. So there you go.
And Secko, same thing from you, List. I mean, besides CD, is there anyone that you're pretty disappointed in this week? I know the top three, Jefferson, Odunze, and Lamb, they'll lose cash this week, but Nico Collins and Zay Flowers will still go up with their low break-evens as we headed into week 12.
Yeah, obviously Jefferson, we've gone over and over again. I think you've got him, you're stuck with him. His price is so low, you can't do anything with him. So if you had him already, should have already been gone. If you had plenty of trades to do that, he can just sit. He's a very good wide receiver 8. Still, I know it's hard to see through the pain, but he's just that good. So it can turn around as an absolute. He's in a similar way of Travion. If you need to rely on him in weeks 17 and 18 as an absolute last case, no trades left and injuries galore. You could do a lot worse. Rome, he got done in by DJ Moore having 2 touchdowns, which won't happen again. It could happen again, but it won't happen again. I still think Rome is also a really good option as that wide receiver 8 if you've got him, 7 or 8. Again, a guy who can, if you need to, desperation, rely on him at the end of the season can do you well. Zay Flowers is one of those guys who does this every single week. I haven't looked at his score, but I can almost guarantee you he's between 25 and 16 every week. Let me just wait till that comes up. He has had 21, 19, 11, 20, 17, 20, 19. So what I said, it's just what he does. He's a floor guy. He has no ceiling. However, next week could be a ceiling, and 2 weeks after that. But look, they're all just guys. Nico is still a good owner as well. Finally on Lamb, he's had 10 targets. He's averaging 10 targets since he's been back from injury. You take that. He had 4 catches on 11 targets today. Dak's better than that. CD's better than that. It reads bad as a stat line, but there's brighter days coming. We've seen it from a lot of players who've had some rough periods. Jamar Chase was dropped en masse this year. I know that was because he's quarterback, but same goes for a lot of guys who have come back. So CD I'll be fine with, Nico fine with, and Roman Jefferson as well. Fine on your bench, not on the field.
Tight ends, the position that we love talking about the most. Tyler Warren, 14 points. Hopefully you got rid of him on the bye. He will lose a bit of cash down to just over 10.5 million. Travis Kelce, 12 points, no change for him. He had a nice higher break even. But Brock Bowers, 17 points. He will come down a little bit in price, just to 14 million. Secko, I will throw it to you because I know you were kind of with that Brock Bowers conversation there, but 17 points, do you think with Chip Kelly at the door, things will just start trending upwards for Brock Bowers? I mean, so we hope Geno Smith still in the building, Ashton Genty out for potentially multiple weeks. So it's really going to only be Brock Bowers and probably a little bit of Raheem Mostert in Las Vegas.
Yeah, well, I think the Ashton Genty injury matters more to me for Brock Bowers' outlook than anything else. Because they haven't got any other. He was doing really well the last 3 weeks with catches out of the backfield, and Geno was leaning on him as a receiving option, which we know that Genty can do through college, and they finally deployed him that way. Or if they didn't deploy him that way, he was the sort of safety valve leak out type guy for Geno. It's $5.4 million this time tomorrow to go to McBride. it's going to be hard. It's going to be a long, hard thought for me, just personally, and that's because I hate myself for making the decision initially, because Bowers had that one big game and had a minus break even, and I thought it was a smarter play financially to then pivot off an injury if it happened. But that same week, McBride went even bigger and made more money and hasn't looked back. So 5.4 mil. I give you the permission to go Bowers to McBride if you want to.
It's a hard one to call, thinking that Jacoby Brissett would just be an absolute game changer for Trey McBride. I definitely wouldn't have picked it at the start of the year. I know I've got Kyler Murray in a whole heap of dynasty leagues. There's another name on this list, Mav, in tight ends, Heartbreakers, and this one probably does hurt a lot to a lot of people, probably yourself included. I know you are a massive fan, but Cole Pitts, 7 points. I mean, yeah, it was opening up to be a game breaker with Drake London out and Kirk Cousins under center. But, yeah, pretty disappointing, don't you think?
Yeah. Very disappointing, mate. It's expected nearly every week. He's the Zay Flowers of tight ends, mate. He really is, except on a lower scale. So, yeah, no, if you do own him, why do you do it to yourself, really? It's just on you. But back onto that Brock Bowers chat, guys. And I agree, right? I agree McBride is in a better situation. He's probably the better tight end, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? I couldn't agree more. And I'm looking at it as a one-off week. I'm not looking at it as a big picture. I'm looking at this as a one-off week. McBride only scored 7 more points than him this week. Like, it's not that big of a difference in the grand scheme of things. But when you look at it on a month, let's say, or 3-week period, then McBride's obviously probably the better player. But look, let's see how this works out. I mean, look, this matchup was pretty tough against the Browns. The pass rush, obviously, the Browns is incredible, and I think Myles Garrett had 5 sacks to go along with it too. So he's a fantastic game changer of a player. But again, tough matchup. Let's see if that's opened up a little bit in the coming weeks. I mean, look, they got the Chargers, Denver, Philly, Houston, Giants. That's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. But maybe Chip Kelly's the bad guy to get out, and the offense might change and Bowers goes off. And there's no Genty, keep in mind either. So they're forced to target Bowers left, right, and center. You'd imagine, because they got no run game now. They got no wide receivers. They just have Brock Bowers. That's all they've got.
Can't wait to talk tight ends next week and see how this one plays out. We are super keen for that. Kickers, we'll just skim through these real quickly. Chris Boswell, 8 points. Brendan Aubrey, 14 points. He actually missed a 50-odd yard field goal too, which was surprising for him. He's missed it automatic. Jake Elliott in that same game, 6 points. Too many touchdowns. No kickers were really needed in that one. The defenses, the Bills absolutely killed you this week with 0 points. The Vikings and the Chiefs in hand did not do much better with 2 points. The Lions on 6. And Mavs recently traded in Seahawks with 8 points. Did not do you any favors there.
Mate, I'll tell you what, it hurt even more. Not because they scored 8 points, but the team I traded them out for was the Cardinals, and they scored 34 points. I just cannot catch a break with defensive teams, mate. I just cannot catch a break. So maybe I might trade the Seahawks again, trade them to someone else. Maybe trade them to the Rams and put the curse on the Rams.
You must just be sitting pretty with all these trades, Mav, if you can just luxury trade out all these defenses. I'm feeling very blessed. Very blessed there indeed. But that's what we'll close out our Heroes and Heartbreakers for Week 12. We do have one more game left to close out the week tomorrow with the Panthers and the 49ers in San Fran. We'll cover that in a little recap on our waiver wire show tomorrow, same time as per usual. But before we close out here, gents, and Secko, to you, a couple of key names in tomorrow's matchup. I mean, Kittle, CMC, Mavs captain, Ted McMillan, good to see what he does, and Purdy and Dowdle as well. That's probably the core group of guys. CMC up against Carolina, the team that drafted him. Do you think there's any chance that he top scores this week after GIBBS puts up 99, or he might just fall a little bit short?
You'd love to see it. I know Mav would love to see it. His score goes 700 plus if you can get 100 out of
No, unfortunately not.
CMC. Oh, okay, he's fallen away. That's how we were trending earlier today, guys, just in case you were behind the curtain there. Look, San Francisco 49ers Ds are still very heavily owned. Some teams may have got them in, even at the basement dollar. They should go all right. I said it pretty hard on, I think it was Thursday, that the Panthers traveling across for a primetime game to the West Coast just screams a bit like the Bucks were today. Yeah, I said it again for that. It's traveling East Coast to West Coast to play nighttime, prime time. They generally don't travel very well, and we saw what happened today with the Bucks. So may not happen, but expect a similar situation from the Panthers. And if that's the case, CMC will go huge. Defense go huge, and I think Brock and George Kittle will have plenty of their own way as well. So could be a little bonanza for everybody if what I'm thinking is correct. And Tettero's coming off his best game, and Bryce Young's coming off his best game. So anything's possible there, especially given the defense is pretty ordinary as an actual scoring defense against for NFL offenses. So it should be at least a high scoring game in some capacity.
And Mav, if you could set the line at CMC's over or under SuperCoach points, what number would you sit that at heading into tomorrow?
Oh, look, probably 42, I reckon.
Low.
42 and a half, I reckon, is the line. It's probably sitting on the fence a little bit considering it's probably at his average, but the Panthers run defense, I don't know, it's not scary, I don't think, at any point. So there's opportunity here to obviously go big, but they're fully healthy, the other Niners as well. So I did take that risk that CMC was going to have a blow-up game. I really did, and still do think that it could happen. But as Secko said, George Kittle's playing healthy. Pearsall's now healthy. Like the offense is sort of back in it now, and that's going to take away opportunities from CMC, unfortunately. So let's see how good he really is. But I'm hoping that they stick the foot on the throat early and CMC gets a few on the board and then just continues in game script and he just keeps dominating. It's probably the only shining light that I can get. Currently, I'm on track for 600. Is probably where I'm on track for. So if we can get a big CMC game, you never know what could come in scoring wise. But hopefully it's a big game. Hopefully it is.
I would have put so much money on and lost that you would have said 69 there when I teed that up for you. I thought that was just an instant drop there. But oh well, that's just another loser for today, going along with JT on my team. But early looks for week 13, gents. I mean, Secko, we'll just leave it down to probably the number one target that you'd either be looking to move out or move in for week 13 before we get to our Wednesday Trade Talk show.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't really mentioned him, but Drake May came up against the Cincinnati Bengals, and I just thought he'd just have a pretty easy way of it. He only scored 33. He drops another mil, so he's down to sort of 21.3-ish, I think, around there, and his break even is going to be above 50. So, and his buys next week. So I think if you've got Drake May, it's time to move off to whoever that is. We've spoken about it. We'll speak a lot more about on Wednesday, but I think he's probably a high priority. If you've got a few trades, we mentioned it earlier as well, a few guys in there that are disappointing. If you've got some spare ones, you can probably package a couple of guys up and really go up to a primo if you've got the spare trades. But really, us three have 4 or 5 trades left. There's 6 weeks left, so you sort of don't want to leave too few. Having said that, I might burn 2 this week just because I'm getting angry, but. I think you want to leave a couple for the last few rounds if you can, if you wanted to do well in rank anyway, because or league, because you just never know. There might be a week where 3 or 4 key guys get injured and all the teams go to absolute shit. If you've got 3 or 4 trades there, you can move them into to great players and dominate the last couple of weeks. So it's just something to think about. But I wouldn't blame anyone going down to no trades just to get some dead wood off. That we named in the earlier in the pod.
Yeah, I think I'll be throwing a couple of renditions around of getting rid of JJ McCarthy and dropping myself down to 2 trades. It's just it's just gross having him sitting there. And Mav, same thing for you. Number one trade that you'd be looking to make out for this week, or a player that you'd be looking to bring in even for week 13?
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, I mean, look, the situation that I probably stand in is Justin Jefferson is my wide receiver 6. I know Secko's sitting there saying he's number 8, but he's my 6 and will probably remain to be my 6 for, well, until I trade him, really. So I don't know about Technic Mullin there on the bench, and then obviously Travis Hunter, who's doing nothing and stuck. So unfortunately, the position that I'm in, that Jefferson would be the guy for me to go. Again, wet sock hasn't really given us any sort of faith at all that that's going to change. I mean, Justin Jefferson's not really washed or anything like that. He's still elite in the competition. He's just got a pencil throwing it to him, so not his fault. But yeah, it would be Justin Jefferson if I'm looking to trade anyone. But again, I'm trying to save my trades. I've got 5 left. I still have to trade Drake May, and I still have to trade CMC. So that'll leave me down to number 3 left after week 14. And look, I'm probably holding those 3 trades just in case an injury does come up. So, I mean, I could save the trade and put in Henderson for CMC, and we might play that for a week. But I'm not interested. I'm wasting these trades. So he's going to JT, and Drake May's going to Lamar, and I'm going to have some fun for the rest of the year. And maybe I might pursue some more trades. We'll see.
We have to enjoy it while it lasts. It's closing on out this NFL season, and we'll be waiting until September again. But there you have it. Thanks, Heath, for joining us tonight on Monday to close out all but one game on week 12. We'll be back tomorrow night before we head into our trade talk show on Wednesday. As per usual, thanks for tuning in.
Cheers.
Bye.